What's up, guys? It's Lord Psycho. I'm here with Mike B, and we're here to do an interview for Darkside TV. And Mike B here is a experienced practitioner in the left-hand path. And so today I'm gonna ask him questions and he'll answer them. So, Mike
To the
B,
best of my ability, yes, sir.
um, what is the left-hand path?
The left hand path and the right hand path that distinguishes it, in my mind, comes down to this: self determinism versus being led. Um, in my mind, the left hand path is the path of freedom that allows you to follow your own star and follow your own conscience and live a life of conscience based on that star. It's a life of self determinism, um, it's a life of will. And I can really sum it up like this really well. The right hand path is all about attainment, attainment of adepthood through growth. The left hand path is about attainment through force of will. And that's the difference.
Okay, okay. And what are some practices that differentiate the two?
Uh, we actually use a lot of the same training methods. It's very ironic and it's very interesting. Real magical practitioners, and I myself come at this from a ceremonial magic background. We use a lot of the same rituals, but we have variations of them, which make them distinct to our side of the spectrum, to the dark side of the spectrum, the night side.
Sure.
Uh, but we share a lot of the same training methods. If you go back to Franz Bardon, Initiation into Hermetics, you're going to find a lot of the steps which actually build a magician from the ground up, and it's all about willpower, imagination, and willpower, imagination, and visualization. And those are the key ingredients to magic and making it happen, as we know.
For sure. You want to talk to us about how you encountered the path and initiated yourself into it?
Oh, this is a great story. Okay, I started out in the right hand path 23 years ago under a Kabbalist adept female who was an amazing adept. I mean, she was really amazing. Her psychic faculties were outrageous. I had a problem in my life with something that we call chronic dissatisfaction. It's very, very common with Western men where we're just not happy with what we've got. And I wasn't. I can only speak for me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So I was naturally pulled to the night side through that. I evoked my first Goetic spirit about 2 years into my practice on the right hand path, and I got everything I wanted and then some.
Okay.
And my Kabbalist teacher said, You have been playing with the Goetia. I sense the taint of Sitra Achra in your aura. You no longer have a place in this community. You're
Damn.
on your own. So I
Okay.
was kicked out of the right hand path. I was ejected from the right hand path, and I wandered for 2 years without an instructor, and that was a very dangerous time.
Okay.
But it turns out, my man, getting kicked out of the right hand path for me was like the best thing that ever could have happened.
Yeah, sometimes a negative can be a positive in disguise.
Yeah, absolutely. If you just got to play the hand you're dealt, and this was how it was supposed to be, and I'm okay with that.
For sure, for sure. And so talk to us about you went on your own journey and what were some maybe spirits or books or practices you encountered and used?
I really can't speak enough about Franz Bardon. Franz Bardon's first book, Initiation into Hermetics, is really probably the most important book I ever read. His second and third books, I believe them to be false blinds. But the first book was really practical. And then also Ophiel. He is really underrated, but he hits really hard because he gives you practical practices that will build your faculties, which will empower your ritual magic workings. Um, I hope that's a clear answer on the question that you asked.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And let's see. So what are explain to us what is a ritual and what is a spell, or what are different things within magic that you can do.
Well, really, okay, a ritual is a predetermined set of actions which are supposed to create a specific effect. Like we all know that 1 plus 1 equals 2.
Okay.
Um, we all know that the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, in theory and in practice, will cleanse the elemental quarters of low level unclean spirits, elementals, fae, and things like that. So that's an example of a ritual producing uh, a practical effect that we can count on day in and day out. As the sun turns, it will still do the same thing today as it did tomorrow. Spells, on the other hand, are a little more open ended in my mind. Casting a spell is releasing an intention in a ritualized way that will bring about the desired result without necessarily dictating the terms of how it manifests. I cast the love spell, like for example, a sweet jar, a sweetness jar. You create your sweetness jar for someone or yourself. You bury it when it's done, and the universe magically brings the right person into the picture for that person or yourself. That would be a good example of a spell. I'd like to cover one final area, and that would be psychic faculty development. Inside of your mind and mine exists faculties which are unused by most people: clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentience, and so on and so forth. Those exercises that you're finding in books like Ophiel and Franz Bardon are going to unlock the keys to your mind, but you're going to have to do a lot of hard work. You can do endless meditations, third eye chakra openings, and not get a goddamn thing out of it. I didn't. It was really until I developed a method that was based on Ophiel and Bardon's work that I actually have any results and success with clairaudience. I have since trained several magicians in this, and I wrote a tutorial on it on the Occult Mirror Forum, and we've had a lot of success with that. So that would be the three areas that you asked about that I just described.
Okay, yes, you did. And what are other practices you can recommend to the beginner occultist? Maybe beginner
Here's
rituals
a good
or
practice. Here's
spells.
a really good practice. Stop giving a fuck about what other people think. That would be the very first thing I would tell you right now. If you're going to be on the left hand path, it's not about what anybody else thinks. It's about what you think. It's your journey. It's like my opinion, your opinion, his opinion. It doesn't matter. What matters is what it is to you. And it's going to change over time. And you need to be open to the fact that you and your points of view, your opinions, and your truth is going to change with time, and it's going to evolve. And you need to embrace that as you move forward.
For sure. And so, what are some of the biggest changes you've seen in your life since entering the left-hand path?
I tried to walk the middle pillar for about 15 years, like
Okay.
your head in the heavens and your feet in the hells type of shit. And I'm going to be honest
Okay.
with you, man. I don't really believe in the middle pillar. I don't believe it's real. You
Okay.
are predominantly disposed to Sitra Achra or Kedusha, night side or the light side. You're naturally drawn to one or the other. And most people that were brought up in a Judeo Christian household have only been exposed to Kedusha, the light of God, the holy side. Okay. For you to have a very strong night side draw usually means you come from a culture outside of ours, the Judeo Christian faith, or you are a maverick, a rogue agent spiritually. And so I found myself when I made the decision to just make a real left, everything started to fall into place. Everything came together. It was like knocking dominoes down, one after the other after the other. That's when I hit my stride, and that's when I had my own attainment. And since then, my life has been pretty gravy. I mean, I'm a professional magician by trade. I'm not hurting for clients. I don't have to advertise. I'm not like balling out of control, but I live a good life. I live a good life, and I'm happy with what I do, and I'm happy with who I am, and I know I'm on the right track.
I feel like that too. I feel like the left-hand path is more free and not confined to any rules, whereas to right-hand path
Yeah,
is a positive, let's say, message, but you suffer at the same time because it's not really what you want truly. Would you agree with that?
yeah, I would definitely agree with that. The only rules are the rules that you make. Somebody jumped on my ass the other day because I was working with Shem angels, and it's like they were questioning my commitment to the left hand path entities, and the night side. And I'm like, well, who the fuck are you to tell me what's left hand path and what's not? I am free to work with any spirit or entity that I want to in the entire universe, and no one's going to tell me otherwise because I carry the left how I want to carry it. And you got to carry it the same way. You got to carry it how you feel it should be carried. Who makes the rules on how it should be carried?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any entity that you see maybe as not the how people see the Christian God, but let's say a creator?
Um, well, the Goetic spirits and the infernals themselves, they definitely have a different take on on that than the other side has. I mean, just imagine, if you will, uh,
Yeah.
being sealed away, entrapped, and imprisoned, and being excluded and disenfranchised from creation that you helped build, and
Uh-huh.
then you were told that you were a destructive element and that you couldn't participate in the advancement and evolution of our species in this universe, you'd be
Okay.
pissed too.
For
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
So yeah, they don't see eye to eye. Let's put it that way.
For sure. I know that. But I am friends with some people who are, let's say, into voodoo, or also on the Reddit I read
Yeah.
something about Tiamat, and there's different let's say creator beings that different left hand practitioners worship, not necessarily in the same way as that god, but you get me?
Yeah, I totally get you. I don't like the word worship though, and I'm going to tell you why. And I'm not saying that they're
I
wrong. I'm
agree
just
with you.
saying
I
I
was
don't.
trying to avoid saying that.
It's just because myself getting rid of my JCI, my Judeo-Christian baggage,
Mhm.
included getting rid of the concept of debasing myself before another entity in order to get favor or curry favor or forgiveness for something that I may or may not have done wrong. I didn't jump from that to try to start worshiping demonic entities and making gods out of them, so that I could beg for favors. That wasn't my intention. Now, I'm not saying that's what they're doing. I have a lot of respect for the voodoo practices, the voodoo religion itself. That's cool, and I think their practices kick ass. I mean, their
Yeah,
magic is real pipe hitting hard. It's really hard stuff. It's impressive, very
yeah.
impressive. And I incorporate elements of it, but I don't like the word worship, and I just wanted to make a point of that.
Okay. Um, would you consider yourself any particular branch of the left hand path? I know you probably don't like to confine yourself, but is there any one that you draw from a lot, like let's say Luciferianism or anything like that?
I draw heavily from the Draconian currently,
Okay.
like Ford, Asenath Mason, V.K. Jehanam. Uh, I really draw heavily from Carlson's work, uh, Kabbalah, Klipoth, and Goetia. That was an excellent book that explained the difference between the night side and the light side, Universe A and Universe B. That really broke it down within the first 50 pages in digestible stuff. And I've been hooked ever since. I can't say I'm like an adherent to a particular current, but I'm heavily influenced by the adversarial draconian current.
Okay. And what is some knowledge that that path or that current entails?
It's all about forbidden knowledge. It's about
Yeah.
knowledge that has been forgotten, knowledge of primordial gods that have existed long before the story that we are currently sold by the right hand. Uh,
It's a little bit about dragons, no? Or dragon energy.
yeah, absolutely. The dragons of Citra. Yeah, and that's a subject I can't go into in a lot of detail here in this type of venue, but it's worth pursuing to anybody that wants to pursue it. I would encourage it.
For sure. I can respect that. And what is
You're
some
asking the right questions, by the way. You're asking questions that are showing me you're serious about what you're doing, and I respect that.
Okay, okay, thank you. Um, is there anything you would like to share about the left-hand path that I haven't asked?
Don't I just wrote about this in my online journal on my occult mirror forum journal.
Okay, okay.
A lot of us come into the left hand path thinking that it's money for nothing and chicks for free. And man, it just doesn't work that way. The amount of effort that you put into this, gaining the faculties, gaining the skills, the technical know how, the trial and error. Because really, with magic, man, I'm going to tell it's like this: what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for you. And what works for you may not necessarily work for him. The real secret to this game is finding what does work consistently. And once you've got the ball, run with the ball, run with it. And you're going to build on top of that and expand from there into other forms of magic that may or may not work. And it's all trial and error. But if you thought that this was going to be easy, like you were going to get like a free hack or a cheat code to life and all of the things you wanted through black magic, it just doesn't work that way. Like you really got to bust your ass and you got to be great and you got to never stop trying and learning and you never get to the point where you're comfortable because if you're going along comfortably, you're not pushing yourself hard enough to grow. If that makes sense to you.
For sure, for sure. Um, are there any spirits from the Goetia that you can talk about?
Oh, absolutely. I've met all of them. I did a project 3 years ago now where I met all 72. It's called the 72 Project. And I
Okay.
can't say I've worked with every spirit of the Goetia, but I've evoked successfully and made contact with and gotten at least the commitment that it's okay to call again and that we could work together in the future from all 72. My pantheon, however, uh, is my lead patron is Prince Arobus, and we've been together forever and ever and ever. And then it would be King Baal,
Okay.
and then it would be Azazel,
Okay.
and then it would be Prince Citri, and then it would be Archangel Halel, Lumiel, Lucibel, Lucifer. That would be at the top of my pantheon. And everybody's pantheon is going to be different, but I've had nothing but really good luck with these guys. If it wasn't for Aurobus, I probably would have been. I can't even imagine what horrible things would have happened to me. I mean, he's always like this, and he tells things, bro, that I couldn't possibly know, and it always turns out to be true. Like I had a client. This is great. I had a client do a demand of me to demand to see some of my abilities on the spot. I was a little irritated, like, who the fuck are you to make demands of me? But okay, I'll entertain this. And Aerobus says, "Oh, I've got one for you." I'm not even sure I'm allowed to say this on this thing, but he basically says, "Tell this dude that what he's confused about is very clear to me." And so I said, "Okay, man. Well, whatever you're confused about with you, Aerobus says is really clear to him." And he's like, "Well, what am I confused about?" And Aurobus said, "It's a sexuality related deal." And I'm like, "Oh God, please, Aurobus, don't do this to me. I can't possibly." And he says, "No, do it. Tell him." I'm like, "No, Aurobus, what if he gets offended?" And he says, "Do it." I said, "Okay, man, look, you're bi and you haven't come out yet." And the guy said, "How could you possibly know that?" And I'm like, "That's Aurobus, man. Like Aurobus, like he tells you crazy stuff about people and you find out it's true later. And it's like, whoa." So he and I have been doing this for ages. Like our divination skills are like off the chain. He's like he's great. Bale, he's great in his way too. Like he Bale's message to me and his message to everybody is this: a lot of people refuse to be the ruler of their own life and they abdicate the throne and abdicate responsibility for their life and their choices to other people. And Bale's message is if we want to rule our life, we have to lead our life and truly be the ruler. That's what he's given me.
Okay.
I hope that that diatribe was entertaining or whatever. And it's a true story. I wouldn't make it up if it wasn't. I mean,
No, I believe it. I
it,
believe
it's embarrassing too. Like I
it.
don't want to bust people out. Like I had a client the other day, like and Aerobus is like, "Oh, she's got a romance at work. She's screwing somebody at the office." I'm like, "But this chick is married. I know her husband." Oh God, no, you know.
That's funny.
Serious, man.
It, it definitely can get funny sometimes, but it's definitely
Oh,
serious too.
have a sense of what's appropriate socially and what's not. I mean, like they have a completely different point of view than we do. So like,
For sure.
you know,
You think you could
yeah.
talk to us about Azazel?
Oh God, yeah. Okay. Azazel came to me at a point in my life where I was really having some serious problems. Okay. I lost my first wife to cancer back in 2015,
Oh,
and she was
sorry.
very young, old guy. And I got into some really unsavory unsavoriness and some activities that weren't pro-social or healthy and were damaging to my health. I think you could figure out from that what I'm saying. It was coping, if you will. But
Okay.
I really let it get out of control and I really went in a downward spiral. And things started really going crazy in my life. And I live here in Metro Manila, just outside of it in the Philippines. I started seeing goats everywhere I went. Goats, like tied up in people's like yards, like goats. Like, what the fuck is a goat doing in Metro Manila? That's just insane.
Yeah.
And I started being tortured by this spirit. I mean, this spirit would just pound on me and pound on me, and everything that could go wrong did go wrong. I mean, I actually considered suicide just to get away from this goddamn thing. Nothing worked. Nothing.
That was after you
Finally,
worked with him or before?
this was before I knew it was him.
Oh,
He
okay.
was giving clues that this was a goat, and I'm like, oh, what? And then I put it all together that this is Azazel, and the whole reason he's doing this is to get me back on my feet. So Azazel, my story with him is he pulled me out of a really dark hole, and he gave me this, which I think you'll like. I'll show you. He arranged for me to get this bad boy. This is a Tibetan singing bowl
Okay.
that you hit it, and clockwise you can use it to charge or clear an object like a bracelet, something like that. Counterclockwise, you can use it to destroy, and the vibrations will destroy entities. Even high level entities like Goetic spirits are really uncomfortable with that vibration. So anyway, Azazel lifted me up, dusted me off, reminded me of who I was, relit that fire, got me back on the path, and I've been grateful ever since.
I had actually just worked with Azazel about a few months ago, and it definitely put me through a lot of trials and tribulations.
Oh God, even worse. I mean, I thought he was killing me, man. I thought he
I
was gonna kill me. Really.
went to jail for my first two times ever. It was horrible. Now I'm on probation, all type of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, that totally sucks. Yep. Yeah,
Mhm.
that completely sucks, man.
And now I've been working with Asmodeus.
Asmodee.
Yes.
Yeah, he's great. He actually possessed me once for 3 days. That's another story. And yeah, where I came to, like in a shitty part of town with crazy people. I
For
I
sure.
can't even go into it. It was so embarrassing. But yeah, I love Asmodee. He's great. This actually is reserved only for him and rituals with him whenever we get down. Love Asmodee, bro.
Is there any info you can share on him and what to expect?
Expect the unexpected. All right, here's how this went down with Asmodee. I was trying to get laid during pandemic and I had no papers and I had no pass and there were soldiers and checkpoints all over the city and I couldn't get around. Asmodeus has me just coasting through these checkpoints with no papers, a foreigner, like, hi guys, and they're just like, yeah, go on through, man, all in the quest to get laid. Like, yeah, Asmodeus is absolutely great. The first time I encountered him, that whole possession thing, I didn't really understand how strong he was. I consider Asmodee about the strongest king of the Goetia in my book.
Word.
Um, yeah, he's got almost the most legions. I mean, he's really, really. I consider him a Jinn god, like Dantalion, a Jinn god.
Okay.
He like the line between divinity and not divinity is really, really blurry with Asmodeus. Um, so treat him like a god. Expect the unexpected. Be open to pleasant surprises. And he's a lot of fun. He's just a lot of fun. Like he dumped this hot chick off on me like 3 or 4 weeks ago. She just walked up and said, "I want to go with you." I'm like, "Why would you want to go with me?" Like just out of the blue. And she says, "No, I just think it'd be fun." I'm like, wow, this is totally Asmodeus. Yes, yes. And I didn't even do anything to deserve it. Like I didn't grovel or beg, or there was no offering. This was just like a, hey, I was in the neighborhood and I thought you might like this, you know. So yeah. Anyway, Asmodeus is great, man. You just got to treat him, respect his strength. That's what I would tell you.
I don't know if you would agree on this, but I feel like he's a little bit maybe more easygoing from my experience than Azazel.
Yeah, yeah, yes, yes. He's more fun than Azazel. He has more
Yeah.
enjoyment. Like that. Here's a little secret I'll give you. He has another name, a lot of names actually, but this name is really one of his oldest. Sakar.
Suck.
S-A-K. Yep. Sakkhr. That is his jinn name. So one time I evoked him and I said, I call upon the mighty King Sakar. And he looked at me and he says, you know things you shouldn't know. Ha 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 ha. He started making a big belly laugh and he loved it. So if you ever want to get in with him, use the name Sakar. He likes that.
Okay. That's
Just
that's
try it and see what happens.
interesting. That sounds interesting. Um,
Yeah.
you think you could talk about Lucifer?
Now, I hate that name and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
That name means so many things to so many different people. It's got so much baggage and it's so loaded. I prefer a different name. I prefer his name before he got called that. And if you look back far enough in the book of Isaiah, it's going to tell you what that name was. Halel, like this. You see that?
Okay.
That is Halel. I think I got it. There you go. Halel was the archangel Halel. Another name would be Lumiel. Another name would be Lucibel. Those names I like a lot better than Lucifer. Lucifer's too loaded.
Okay.
Can
Okay.
I tell you a little bit about him? Yeah, I avoided meeting him for about 20 years. I was scared shitless, to be totally honest with you. Uh, Going as far as in interacting with actual Lucifer, which would pretty much make me a Satanist at that point, was
Okay.
a little too left hand for me at the time. I was a little squeamish, and this was a couple of years ago. Finally, one of my dudes was like, dude, you're going to have some balls and meet Lucifer, man. You're going to have to. All roads lead to Lucifer, and you know it. And you know it.
Okay.
And then King Bill was like, you know, you need to do it. You just, he needs to talk to you. You need to do it. I'm like, oh shit, man, fuck, what am I going to do? What if he's crazy? What if, like, so I get with him and I get the most intense sense of peace, acceptance, and belonging that I have ever felt in my entire life. A sense of everything was truly, truly okay. And that how I was right then was okay with him. And he didn't want me to be something I wasn't. He could see everything that I could be, but he wasn't making me be something that I wasn't. And that to me was a moment of acceptance that I'll never forget. He made it really, really clear to me that I'm going to do certain tasks for him when he asks, and there may or may not be rewards in it or what have you. And I'm okay with that relationship. Like he's got a really, really strong sense of social justice. Like there's a woman getting abused or beat on by somebody that can't take care of herself at all. And Lucifer may just say, handle that. And then okay, we'll get the wand out and we'll handle that. Bing, and tune the offender up. He really hates to see people that can't defend themselves stepped on by strong people that don't give a fuck. I mean that bothers him. In my experience, that bothers
Okay.
him. He has a plan, definitely, for how things would change if the power balance shifted, for sure. I think it's great. I mean, I'm not happy with looking around the world and seeing things the way that they are now, and to see things may be different if there was different management. That's all hypothetical anyway, but I think he's great, personally. I think he's great.
I do too. He's actually the first spirit I worked with.
You got some balls, man. That's cool.
And my life was definitely crazy, but I was probably like my most successful I've ever been. I worked with him for like a year straight.
Yeah. Did you find any of the same characteristics that I described also?
I do feel like he's like he really looks out for you and helps you become strong and able to handle a lot of things, but it is a lot of chaos, but a lot of like knowledge that comes with it. And like you said, acceptance.
Yeah, yeah. Like I didn't feel the judgment that I feel on like a right hand path Kadusha divinity.
For sure,
Like
for sure.
I didn't feel like there is either obedience to my will or wickedness and disobedience. I didn't feel that dynamic at all with him, which was really a refreshing, nice experience.
I agree. I agree.
I'm really not sure who's stronger, him or Michael, and I know them both really well, and I really am not sure who is stronger. It is my belief, and this is totally off topic, and you can cut me off if you want. I believe spirits evolve and grow in power over time. Like Asmodeus went from whatever he was into being a jinn god over a period of millennia, what have you. My belief is that Lucifer has grown a lot stronger in the course and the due fullness of time. So really, it's my thoughts are it's anyone's guess what could happen if the two of them ever had another disagreement, if you will.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Do you feel
yeah.
like maybe practicing with both of them at the same time, do they clash a little bit or no?
I don't ever mix infernal and celestial. I think that is a recipe for disaster. There
Okay.
is absolutely no in my mind, it's absolutely madness to have this attitude of Michael and Lucifer are friends, the demons and angels love each other.
Okay.
That's just not how it works, man. like you've seen the picture of Michael standing on his throat with a sword. Like, do they
Yeah,
look like friends?
I haven't really worked with angels to be honest, but we have 4 minutes left. You think you could get into angels a little bit?
You can still work with the angelic side of the spectrum and be left hand path. There is nothing off limits to you. It's like this. After I did clip off initiation, which I'm actually doing a second time right now, and I'm going through Goetia, which is hell. It's just hell. The Tree of Life initiation is very different. I did it because I wanted to be able to command angels and demons. I don't want there to be any class of spirit that I don't have sway over. Um, so this was a power grab in my book. Like if we're made in the image of divinity, then there should be no reason that I can't boss around angels just like I can demons. In theory,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, I
The
agree.
difference is you don't mix the two together. Like on this altar, I have a celestial altar and an infernal altar, and I don't mix the two because they don't mix. They fight constantly,
Use
like
them
two
at
cats.
separate times always.
If you respect that, then there's no reason you can't work with both in my book.
For sure, because it's everybody's subjective path, but you wouldn't recommend it to
I would
somebody
recommend
that's
if you're going to be left hand path, really get to know your left hand path entities before you branch out. Have some firm footing, have good connections, make build relationships, and that takes years, as you know.
and what can angels help with?
I like to work with a classification called Shem angels, and each Shem angel of 72 or 78, what have you, at 72, um, each of them has a specific thing that they're good at doing. Some of them are good for love, some of them are good for dealing with the courts, some of them are good to bring money and success with business enterprises. I use them routinely to bolster my business. I use them to solve problems for my clients. They're very effective. And a demon and an angel can both work on the same task from different angles without interfering with one another. That does happen, and that is okay. Like I send Prince Arobus to work on issue X, and I send Shem Angel to work on issue X, giving both the instructions that they are not to interfere with one another, but to assist each other from different angles, if that makes
Okay,
sense.
okay. That makes sense.
This
But
conversation's been great. I'd be happy to talk to you anytime you want, brother. You ask the right questions, and I'm happy that
sure.
you had me.
And I appreciate you sharing your wisdom with the audience and for joining this call with me. but I think we're gonna wrap it up for this call. We could
Okay.
always
That's great.
call again in the future and talk about more stuff.
Anytime, man. Anytime. Rock out.
Mhm. All right. Thank you.
Yep.